And we come now to 0 hour 30 Universal Time. In the news at this hour, the United Nations Secretary-General has won Iranian support for the UN resolution that ended fighting between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Kofi Annan met on Saturday with Iranian Foreign Minister Manouchehr Mottaki. After their talks, Mr. Mottaki said his nation supported the Lebanese position on the ceasefire resolution, but he warned against any attempt to change the orders of the peacekeepers called for in the resolution. Mr. Annan also met with Iran's top nuclear negotiator, Ali Larijani, to discuss the disputed Iranian nuclear program. Mr. Larijani said he and Mr. Annan agreed that negotiations are the best way to deal with the issue. The top Shiite clergyman in Iraq, Grand Ayatollah Ali Sistani, has warned the Iraqi Prime Minister that the government must provide security. If this is not done, he said, there is a risk that other groups would take responsibility. In a statement released on Saturday, the Ayatollah said the failure of Iraqi security forces to decrease violence in the nation is serious. He commented after talks in Najaf with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. An army investigator reportedly has said that military lawyers should ask for the death sentence for 4 American soldiers accused of murdering Iraqis. The Associated Press says Colonel James Daniel sent his opinion to Army officials. AP says it has received a report in which Colonel Daniel says he believes the murders were planned. AP says the report was based on evidence from a hearing in August. The 4 soldiers are accused of killing 3 Iraqi men during a raid near Samarra on May 9th. The soldiers have denied any wrongdoing. British defense officials say 14 British military members have been killed in the crash of a NATO airplane in southern Afghanistan. A spokesman for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization says the airplane crashed in an open area near Kandahar. British defense officials say the airplane was supporting a NATO operation, but they said the crash appears to have been an accident and not the result of hostile fire. NATO forces have launched an offensive to drive members of the Taliban from Kandahar. The United Nations says production of the drug opium has increased by 60% this year in Afghanistan. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime reports that this year's Afghan opium harvest is 30% larger than world demand. Drug Agency Chief Antonio Maria Costa said leading drug traders in the nation must be arrested and their money seized. The UN study also found that much of the money from the illegal drug trade is paying for resistance and criminal activity. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Security forces in Israel, that is, Israeli security forces, have killed 3 Palestinians in 2 separate incidents in the Gaza Strip. Officials say 1 man was killed on Saturday near the Israeli border in central Gaza. 2 others died during a raid in Beit Hanun. The attacks are the latest in an 8-week Israeli offensive in Gaza. The campaign follows the kidnapping of an Israeli soldier in a raid in June. An official of the African Union peacekeeping force says the Sudanese government has attacked 6 villages in North Darfur in recent days. The rights group Human Rights Watch says it confirms the attacks. The group says government airplanes have been bombing villages. Rebel commander Jar al-Nebi says villages have been burned and civilians killed. His group did not sign the Darfur peace agreement in May. On Thursday, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution calling for deployment of UN forces to the area. The UN force would expand the 7,000-member African Union force already there. Islamic militants have released a video recording of al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahri and a man he called an American member of al-Qaeda. The American is identified as Adam Yahya Gadan. Officials in the United States say he is wanted for questioning about possible terrorist threats. In the recording, Mr. Gadan invited Americans and others to accept Islam. An Islamic website put the pictures on the Internet. Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono says Western media appear to value Muslim lives less than those of non-Muslims. Mr. Yudhoyono spoke on Saturday to journalists in Bali. He said when non-Muslims are killed in fighting, Western media show more anger than when Muslims die in places like Iraq, Lebanon, and the Palestinian territories. President Yudhoyono says the Muslim community is not asking for special treatment, but wants the same respect given to others. Indonesia has the world's largest Islamic population. And a European spacecraft is expected to crash on the moon on Sunday. Controllers of the European Space Agency's Smart 1 have prepared the spacecraft for the landing. Scientists said Smart 1 should crash on the near side of the moon in an area called the Lake of Excellence. They say the crash can be seen from Earth with a telescope. And so, briefly now, again, the major news of this hour. The United Nations Secretary-General has won Iranian support for the UN resolution that ended fighting between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The top Shiite clergyman in Iraq has warned that the government must provide security. And the United Nations says production of opium has increased by 60% this year in Afghanistan. So ends the news in VOA Special English.